All right. Yes, we are live. Hey, everybody, how's it going? I'm your host, Chris, and you are watching the Weekly Spinner Rack. I was just checking out my computer. All right, good. Just making sure that I've got good stream health. I can see that there's already a bunch of people here in the live chat, so that's awesome. I'm just clicking on a few things to get started, but thank you everybody for being here. I'm so excited to do this episode. I think we've got some interesting comics to talk about. There's some interesting comic book news of the week that we'll all be chatting about. I'll be taking your questions, and I've got a sketch laid out that I'm pretty excited to get to in a little bit. Those are just some of the things that we do on this show. First thing I do is I always just review some of the comics that I've read in the past week. So I've got a handful here of some interesting things. But let me acknowledge some of you who are here right at the beginning. Looks like I've got a number of folks in here. What is this going to let me? Okay, we've got Joe Dent, Uros, we've got Elias. Hello to Armin. Hello, Tony Michael, who says that his kids think he's a YouTube star. Hello, Jim. Jim Mahfood's here. That's awesome. I appreciate that you watch this, Jim. Hello, Daryl. Hello, Joseph. Hello, Xavier. Hello to King in the North. Hello, Eric Peterson. Hello, Sean. Hello, Eminem. Hello, Mark McGrath. Hello, Hannah. Whoo! All right. Hello, A-Man. We've got a bunch of people here. Black Phoenix and my sister. Oreo and Jeannie is my sister, everyone. Always happy to have her here. We've got a lot of wonderful people here. Thank you. Thank you for joining the show. I think we're going to have a good time today. I've got good energy, which is nice because I actually got up pretty early today. Here, I'll just talk to you guys a little bit before I launch into the comics. We need some plumbing work done on the house, and the person was supposed to be here at 12:30. No problem. This is one of my few days where I kind of let myself sleep in a little bit. Usually, at 9 o'clock, bang 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 on the door. What? We're both asleep, my wife and I, and I run downstairs and it's them. Okay, cool. Let's get this done quickly. And so it just started my day earlier than I expected. And I know 9 is not super early or anything, but when you're planning on sleeping in and you've been up kind of late the night before, I was just what? So I've just sort of been going since then. I'm working on house projects and stuff. Tomorrow I've been taking calls from my customers at work, coordinating car stuff. Even though I'm not at the dealership today, I've still been doing a lot of work for that, and I've been coordinating. I'm selling my I don't know how many of you know this, but I have a 1957 Thunderbird. I got that for a really fantastic price a while back. We bought it at my work, and I'm allowed to buy things before they go to auction for basically what we buy them for, and it was just an incredible price. It was too much to pass on, and my plan was always to just sort of have that take it to some car shows and stuff, but I've only owned it during the pandemic, so I've never actually been able to do that. I love my Thunderbird, but because I've never been able to, and I've got all these bills, I'm still paying for it was 1 year ago exactly to the day I was still in the hospital, literally fighting for my life because I was so sick, and I've still got bills to pay for that. I've got all sorts of bills for home repairs and stuff, so I gotta sell my car. I'm selling it tomorrow, and getting that ready. Kind of bummed about that, but anyway, blah blah blah, right? Yeah. Oh right, and another thing is last summer we had this incredible heat wave here. My central air at my house, the unit itself literally exploded. The capacitor blew, and it sparked something that made the rest of the air conditioning unit blow up. So my wife and I have actually made it all through the winter without any heat, which has been tough. We've just been living in lots of sweatshirts and lots of layers of blankets. So I gotta just sell it at this point, make some money. But anyway, Let's see. Would you ever be down to do a video on the Thing solo comic run? Oh, maybe. Who knows? Funny you bring up old cars. I was just watching Christine. Oh, that's an underrated movie by John Carpenter. It's a decent one. Hello, Daniel. I hope things are going well for you out in Sweden. Let's take a quick look at some comics. Let's review some comics. And of course, I'm curious what you've read this past week. Talk with each other too, in chat. But, what have you read this week that stands out as either really, really good or sometimes disappointing? But I'm excited to start off with something I love. I'm so excited that Saga is back. It still blows my mind because it had a pretty prolonged hiatus. Issue 57 is here, as usual. Gorgeous, gorgeous artwork by Fiona Staples. This stuff is just gonna, I think she knows how this is gonna be something that people remember her for. I really do. Brian K. Vaughan has, been a fantastic writer for a long time, but this is interesting because, it's a space opera type book with some weirdo characters, like a frogman here, or a guy with huge moose ears. This could be very, very silly. It could be. And, visually sometimes it is. But what's interesting about it is the relationships between these characters are incredibly down-to-earth and believable. It's stories about parents and children. Right now it's a story about a single mom. But it's got other side characters too. There's some incredible arcs in this. Just incredible. Specifically at this point in time, Alana is a single mom with 2 kids. And she's getting into bed metaphorically, not literally, metaphorically, with some pirates to sell some drugs, pharmaceutical type drugs, just to survive, because she's on the run from some kingdoms that want her dead. If you haven't read it, it's because there are 2 alien races that have been at war for generations and generations. And Alana and her late husband, Marco, were from opposite sides of the war and had a child. And both sides do not want that information to get out there. Some very fascinating mercenaries and soldiers on both sides who are more nuanced than you would expect. We're getting to see a war from everyone's perspective as things go on. People who live in, battle-torn cities, people who are soldiers, people who have the luxury of sitting it out on the sidelines and sometimes just profit from it. So it's really fascinating. Hey, it's my good friend Hooded Cobra Commander 788. Nice to see you as always, pal. By the way, Hooded Cobra Commander 788 has a YouTube channel where he reviews vintage G.I. Joe figures. His latest episode, I just want to compliment him. He does an extended Max Headroom bit, and I don't know how many of you remember Max Headroom anymore. Very sort of 80s thing. It was it was made to look like a digital character. He would glitch and stuff like that. He had artificial backgrounds, but it was actually an actor, Matthew Frewer, in makeup and stuff. But it's not an easy editing job. It was a really, really funny opening to his latest episode. If you look up his channel, it's the same as his name there. Really funny. Interesting that you bring up Comixology, Andrew Jefferson. I have some comments on that, not really news related, but in some of these books that I'm reviewing. So I'll get there in just a moment. But anyway, easily a strong recommendation if you haven't read Saga. And if you haven't, in a way you're in luck, because you can get a compendium of issues 1 through 50, I want to say. And it's something like $35 or something. It's a really good price. You're paying less than $1 an issue. These days, that's hard to beat. So if you haven't read it, you can catch up. It's a lot of good reading, as long as you like sort of space opera stuff mixed with family. But there's actual commentary on the war in a way that I feel like sometimes the Star Wars movies do hint a little bit, towards the effects of war, and sometimes they get a little caught up in adventure, which is fine. I do think that the original trilogy dealt a little bit more with the effects of war on people, and that's gotten a little lost and is coming a little bit back when I see shows like The Mandalorian. I feel like you're actually seeing people dealing with the post effects of a war. Yeah, Philip mentioned some great comics coming out tomorrow. Excellent #2 and Hulk Grand Design. I can't wait. Yeah, John, it's a fantastic price. This is a standalone issue. If you've never read Stillwater, and I'm just realizing that my copy has some cover damage. That's too bad, but, whatever. I don't collect these to sell them, so I'm fine with that. Stillwater is an interesting title by normally Chip Zdarsky and artist Ramon Perez, but this issue is a standalone anthology that mixes in some interesting artists. They're all credited here. The premise of Stillwater is there is a town where nothing can die there. You just can't die. Any injury will heal, no matter how bad it is. More than Wolverine. You just can't die. And the people of the town have been there a long time. This is in America, and they keep it a secret. They do have, supplies shipped in and stuff, but no one is allowed to leave the town. They've got very strict rules. This tells the story of, some people in the town sitting by a campfire, which, by the way, is like a fire that has never died. It was like a tree was hit by lightning, started to burn. Because it's in this town, it never stops. Like, the tree is constantly regenerating as it burns. And we get 3 really cool stories about people who have, according to these people telling the stories, actually escaped. But as to whether it actually happened, it's in doubt. All I can say is sometimes anthologies can be very hit and miss. I would call all of this a big hit. If you've never read this book before, this is a fantastic jumping on point. I loved these stories. They were almost sort of like ghost stories in a way, because it's just so scary about trying to escape the leadership of this town. They're pretty awful people. I really especially like the art on this 3rd story in the anthology. And let's take a look and see who it was. I think this is Ethan Young is the name of this artist. I don't know. It just appealed to my sensibilities for whatever reason. I mean, I look at it and I do see a little bit of stuff like, say, Ryan Otley on Invincible or something. But it's also just a little less exaggerated, a little more grounded. I don't know, just some really beautiful textures on these caves and stuff like that. It's hard to see on the webcam, but it's really pretty. It's a really nice book. So I do recommend this. Maybe not as strongly as something like Saga, but if you were curious about this book and you heard about it at all, this is a point where you could sort of jump on and get an idea of what type of stories are told in the book. Okay. Can you age in the town? Mentally, but physically, no. So there are literally children who are technically adults. They're very old, but yeah, they're kids. And the town is so strict that they don't even let people step foot over the line just to sort of age and then come back. You're just not supposed to do that. They don't want their secret getting out there. Here's a pretty big book that is a Comixology original. Comixology obviously getting plenty of justly deserved vitriol, anger from readers, because they switched from their dedicated reader to their Kindle technology, and that e-reader can't compare. It's just not as well designed. There's multiple flaws. Amazon has said that they're in the process of doing updates and fixing things, but Stillwater's been going about a year at Elias. But whatever. Scott Snyder has his own studio, essentially. He came up with a deal with Comixology to create some original books. This one is with artist Greg Capullo, who most people will probably know from his lengthy run on Spawn. And if you liked that run on Spawn, a lot of this art is very much in that wheelhouse, in that, we're talking demons, flesh being torn apart, some pretty gruesome stuff. It's Capullo having fun with what he does well. I was like, Dark Horse, by the way, is publishing the print edition. And one thing I did like, by the way, the entire creative team is outlined here. Jonathan Glapion is doing the inks over Capullo. He's done a bunch of them in his career. Dave McCaig doing some gorgeous colors. Tom Napolitano. Sorry that I'm not sure, Tom. Letterer. Nice to see the whole creative team get credit there. Seems like we're moving forward in that kind of direction, because, again, Stillwater, look, you've also got Mike Spicer on colors and things like that. So you've got, you've got a lot of people getting credit on the cover, and I think that that's important. What's this story? This story, it's outlined on the first page. It's about the fall of man. Demons, literal demons, are in the process of taking over the world. And we get to meet, or are introduced to this story through the main character. What's her name? It's all told from her point of view, so I'm trying to remember, because she's the narrator, so I'm trying to remember her name. Oh, her name is Lamb. Yeah, that's right, Lamb. Named after an angel. Her father has passed away. She loved her father very much. She was more of a science person. He was an actual, preacher. But she always respected him. He was a great dad. Single parent. He's passed away. He's passed away, and she finds out that he was apparently a demon hunter. And so, now she's gonna pick up in the family business. So whatever, I'm going okay, interesting enough premise, not necessarily the kind of thing, I haven't read Spawn in a long time, really. I've read little bits of it here and there to sort of be aware, but it's not something I read regularly. So I wasn't super familiar with Greg Capullo, that Spawn stuff. That wasn't the hook for me. I was just okay, I have enjoyed lately Scott Snyder's book, Nocterra, and I've started to go back and read his New 52 Batman. That wasn't something I read when it came out. Obviously, a lot of people like that. And from what I've read so far, which is very little, it is good. This book, We Have Demons, is not really what he did on something like Batman, because that was a slow burn building up to some big events. And that was appropriate, because Batman's mysteries and stuff like that. This is balls to the wall, crazy crap. This is just insane, right out the gate. And it's fun, because it could be lame, but it's fun. It's kind of some of that 90s image excess that just worked because of the sheer passion on display by the creators behind the scenes. Except this does probably have better writing than most of that stuff did that back then. Most, I say. You've got a character that's very well defined, and then just things go insane. I love it. Interesting thing about this paperback version. First of all, it's double length. Okay, this is a $5 comic. It's double length compared to a normal comic. And then in the back, Scott Snyder talks about the process and the ideas behind it. And he's got his rough outline script printed here, which could be interesting for people that are interested in potentially making comics. There's something to learn there potentially. I say double. It's 32 pages or something, so more like 1.5 times. But it's cool. It's really cool. I think that Greg Capullo is having fun with it, because there is a lot of detail to this artwork. There really is. So he's got to be passionate about it. It seems like it is. It's very energetic. It's super violent. There's a lot of cursing and stuff. So this is a super fun adventure thing, but very R-rated. I guess if you like stuff If you like stuff that's like, like 90s comics, I would say that this is a little reminiscent of that. If you like Deadpool, something that's sort of funny, but like a little dirtier, maybe, at least like the movies, I would say We Have Demons maybe falls in that wheelhouse. All this is to say, I like this more than I expected to. I almost didn't pick this up. It was sort of one that I picked up, I put back, and then like as I was like making my way out the store, I was like, I'm not buying that many comics this week. I'm going to give this new book a try. I liked it more than I expected, so I'm sincerely interested in picking up the second issue. Demon Days, Blood Feud. This is like the fourth book that Peach Momoko is doing with sort of a take on X-Men using Japanese folklore characters. Yokai, Oni, things like that. It ends the story quite abruptly, actually. I was a little surprised by that, but it does end quite abruptly. And it hasn't been coming out quite monthly, so I've been like, or if it has, like, I've been having a little bit of trouble remembering what happens in the previous issues exactly. I remember the characters, but I didn't remember exactly where they were. Look, it's good. The artwork is very good. The artwork is fun. You either like Peach Momoko or you don't at this point. You've seen her covers. You know her artwork. She's a superstar when it comes to cover art. It's interesting seeing her get to explore some fun ideas. And I don't want to ignore it. Zach Davisson helps with the script and does all the dialogue, stuff like that. So, I don't want to like not count him. But this seems like, very much from Peach Momoko's imagination. And I kind of got it mostly for the art. And ultimately, I don't know, the story did some interesting things with character ideas. By that I mean, like, so for instance, an Oni is like an example of like a giant, right? And so they've got this guy, Halbo, but it's Hulk. It's a take on the Hulk. Well, that's interesting. Instead of like any sort of literal Wolverine, there's this giant one-eyed wolf called Logan that's super loyal and super protective of Mariko. So, it's an interesting alternate take on things. I wouldn't say that the story went in unexpected directions that wowed me or surprised me in that regard. I think the most fun issue in retrospect was the one where they went up against Venom, and it was like a snake god that was like looked and acted sort of like Venom. I thought that one was very creative visually and had some really fun dialogue and stuff like that. Has any other X-Men been seen in Demon Days? Yeah, a version of Psylocke, a version of Jubilee, some other characters like Black Widow from Marvel. And what it says at the end, like it wraps this story up abruptly, but it does say, where does it say it? It says that like Peach will be, Peach Momoko's reimagining of the Marvel Universe will be expanding this summer. So I guess this has been very much just X-Men, and now she's going to expand that further. It's an interesting contrast. By the way, most of this is sort of set in what seems to be, like the past, like sort of feudal Japan, and then the final pages. I guess maybe this has always been set in the present. Things have been happening at the base of a mountain out in the middle of nowhere, because the character Mariko heads into the city. And I just want to say, I'd love to see Peach Momoko draw more modern day cityscapes, because that just really reminds me of Japan, the Japan I've experienced, and I just find it kind of beautiful in its own way. So I really liked that. I like these last couple pages here. It's an interesting excursion. It's not something I can give a strong recommend to, but it is interesting. Staying with the X-Men, I just have two more books that I want to look at. Oh yes, Thor and Storm were in it, Mystique, you're right. Yeah, there were a couple characters. Do you recommend reading Demon Days now that this version is finished? I think it would be more enjoyable to read all four in a row very quickly. I think that would probably be the best reading experience. So if they collect that in a trade paperback, that's probably going to be the best bang for your buck. And it really just depends how much you like the idea of looking at X-Men filtered through the lens of some Japanese folklore. Another nice thing that, like, Zach, the co-writer, does is in the back here, it talks about, like, the names for certain, like, yokai, supernatural characters. And it gives you a little bit of a history lesson, and that honestly is pretty fun. And that's in the back of every issue. So if you like Peach Momoko's art, yeah, you're going to enjoy the book. If you like the premise of X-Men filtered through a Japanese take, you're going to like it. Oh, just got a super chat. John Dorsey, thank you very much. Super chats are super appreciated right now. Love to the esteemed host of my favorite stream. Thanks, man. That's really nice of you. Thoughts on the new Substack endeavor with Hickman, Tynan, and other talented creators? It seems to be pretty successful for a lot of these creators, doesn't it? I have not subscribed to any of the Substack newsletters yet. I probably should. I was tempted by a few of them. I do enjoy Jonathan Hickman's writing quite a bit, so I've been tempted to subscribe to his. And my friend Kerry Randolph is a great artist, and he and his partner Joanne have been doing a comic through Substack, and that one's free to subscribe to, so I've seen some of that. But I should, if you pay, then you can, like, get access to behind the scenes and more artwork and stuff, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's what I like about it is that it does seem to benefit the creators quite directly, like connecting them very immediately with their readership and allowing them to, charge a very reasonable amount in exchange. I do kind of love the idea. I love reading comics physically. I do read a bunch digitally just to take less space up in my house. A lot of the stuff that I review or discuss or analyze on the show, ultimately I do get digitally, so that I've got, like, sort of already, images already created and stuff that I can edit. Yeah. The one that I regret not picking up right now is something that people are talking about. I wish I had picked up Human Target from day one, because it sounds like that's a pretty special book. I'll have to pick that up when it comes out in trade, because that does look great. And I do like Greg Smallwood's art. Let me just bang through these last two kind of quickly. Wolverine patch. Okay, to understand what this is, you have to have read the first ongoing Wolverine book. You don't have to, but you'll get more out of it if you read the first ongoing Wolverine series from back in the late 80s. Wolverine, at that point, created this second identity for himself called Patch. He would just always wear nice suits. He'd wear, like, this eye patch, and he ran a bar on the island of Madripoor. Larry Hama took over pretty early in that run as the writer and stayed with it for quite a long time. So he knows the character very well. If you liked that era of Wolverine, yeah, you're going to like this, because it's going back to that time period. It's just a new sort of solo adventure of Wolverine at that time. Characters like Archie and Tiger were ongoing supporting characters in the book at that time. Haven't really been seen in the Marvel Universe in quite a while. I love the story. I'm a big fan of Larry Hama. He keeps things moving at a good pace, and there's some really, you can tell Larry Hama dialogue is the best way to put it. He's got interesting turns of phrases. He's got great technical detail, especially when it comes to, like, military and war stuff. And yeah, he's good at characterization. He really is. The artwork is fine. I don't have anything against it. It doesn't super excite me, but it isn't bad in any way. I have no specific complaints about the art. It doesn't necessarily excite me, but it is clean, and it allowed me to read the story. I read this very quickly. I love it. So, yes, I recommend it, but you'll get more out of it if you're already sort of familiar with that era of Wolverine, which hasn't really been touched on in a long time at this point. Madripoor gets used here and there, but him running a bar, the characters of Tiger and Archie, the cargo plane pilot, they just haven't really been used in a long time. Not that this refers to any deep history or anything that you'd need to know. It's just that you would probably get more out of it if you liked that era of Wolverine. It's not the same Wolverine today where, you know, he really knows who he is and he's dedicated to like working on a lot of other superhero teams as well. This is Wolverine that's a little bit more of a loner, a little bit more of a wild card. He had a lot more mystery behind him at this point. Where is this set in Wolverine's timeline? Like I say, it's like the sort of late 80s, early 90s period of Wolverine in his solo book. Last thing I read, also X-Men. Can't give this a strong recommend. It's the final issue of the X-Lives/X Deaths of Wolverine crossover. All I can say is they've transitioned the character of Moira McTaggart, a longtime X-Men ally, into a new enemy. Mystique and Destiny took away her mutant powers, so she has now decided to become sort of post-human. She had her consciousness uploaded into essentially a robot body. Let's just call it what it is, a robot body. And in 1,000 years in the future, she's still alive. She infects Wolverine, who is still alive at that point, with the techno-organic virus, sends him back into the past. Oh, no, she didn't. I'm sorry. Like, while he was infected, his healing factor kept the techno-organic virus at bay. He goes back into the past to kill Moira and preserve the timeline for mutants. They're semi-successful. They do change the timeline. But ultimately, like, Moira comes back on the last page as, like, a robot. And I don't feel bad spoiling this because it just... It's not fun for me. I don't mind turning villains into heroes and heroes into villains. It's always interesting to shake things up a little and switch up that heel versus face dynamic. It can be. But this happened very, very quickly. You know, across 10 issues, Moira just sort of instantly... And 10 issues that were released weekly. So, like, over the course of 2 months, Moira is all of a sudden a villain, an enemy of the X-Men. And that could go in some interesting directions down the road. I'm not against the premise, but I think that the character was just really, really rushed through these issues. So whatever. It wasn't for me. I don't know. I stayed with it because it wasn't like... It was coming out weekly, so it was kind of easy to stay with. I can't give it a strong recommend. I only picked up 2 back issues this week. Heroes for Hope was a book that Marvel put together with tons of top-tier talent to benefit Africans, like that were like dealing with famine and stuff like that. Let me just show you some of the people in this. Look, these are like writer, penciler, inker, letterer, colorist. All of these are like some of the top names that worked at Marvel in 1985. Stan Lee, Louise Simonson, Chris Claremont, Denny O'Neil, George Martin, that's George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones, Steve Englehart, Jim Shooter, Mike Grell, Archie Goodwin, Ann Nesenti. Artists, we've got John Byrne, John Romita Jr., John Buscema, John, Brian Bolland, Frank Miller, Mike Kaluta, Richard Corbin, Herb Trimpe. Well, I'm not a huge fan of Herb Trimpe, sorry. Paul Gulacy, Howard Chaykin, Steve Rude. Like, those are some top-tier names. Wow. So, I got that, like, at a great price. It's just lots of short stories in the X-Men universe by all these amazing creators. Really cool. And then, I got this cheap, but, like, I had just done the episode on gimmick covers. I used to have this, but I sold most of my comics years ago. When I saw this at a good price, I was just like, this is a fun gimmick cover. I'll show you what the gimmick is, because I've got it here. In my video, I made a mistake and said this is the issue where Bruce Wayne returns as Batman. No, this is the issue where John Paul Valley takes over as Batman. All right, so we've got the foil enhancement here, and when you flip over this cover, boom, you've got more foil. There's Jean Paul Valley as Batman with, like, you know, Bane and Robin over here. Joe Quesada cover. It's nicely done. It's classy. And the last thing I'll talk about, but I won't go into huge detail because I feel like I only just talked about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure a little bit on the last episode. But darn it if I didn't get into this story. The art though is weird, folks. This is weird. Let me give you an example. Like I have trouble getting into shots like this. This guy's like being thrown out of the water, and he's just limbs are just everywhere. Like all these turns, like his back is broken. Like whose back arches like that? It's hard for me to get used to that. Like it's very over the top, but I'm starting to understand that both the story and the art are intentionally over the top, and it is fun. People say it looks nice. Oh, you were talking about the cover. What's another weird one? But then like the over the topness, I kind of am starting to get into. Like it's very Fist of the North Star-esque. Here's the hero, Jonathan Joestar, fighting a knight, a zombie knight, I should say, like a bad guy, and he just does this, karate chop that cleaves the guy's arm in half, and that's pretty gnarly but cool looking, I have to admit. So I kind of like the over the top action and stuff like that. What to say about this? If you're into very over the top action and like extreme violence, then you might like this. Is it as deep, though, as something like Berserk, which was also like really, really violent, but had super gorgeous, super detailed artwork and character arcs that could like make you cry? Well, I'm not at that point yet. I think that JoJo is probably a little too campy for me to like get to the point where I might cry over a character arc the way I can over something by, say, Naoki Urasawa or something like Berserk. But it is fun. Darn it, it's fun. It's over the top and full of energy. Yeah, it's crazy. Look at this. Here's like these are two different bad guys. This guy's offended at like this zombie, and he's got so much power he swipes across his face with his finger and like rips off his nose, and the nose goes sniff sniff. I mean, that's the kind of over the top stuff. No, Chrissy, this is not about JoJo Siwa, and I don't know how to pronounce that name, so I probably got that wrong. I know that's some sort of a YouTuber. All right, let me zoom in here. It's time to draw and talk about comic book news. What I've done here, I laid out and then lightboxed a drawing of female versus a male wrestler. These are based on the characters that I've seen from the upcoming Daniel Warren Johnson book, Do a Powerbomb, about wrestlers. It's going to be a 7-issue series from Image that starts in June or July. I need to zoom in a little here. But I'm going to ink it today while we sort of talk. I'm going to look at your questions. I'm going to talk about the news of the week. That was a lot to review for comics. Hopefully this allows you to maybe see it a little bit better as I start inking it. There. And we'll go from there. We've got Cobra Sun and Steel Rose is who I'm trying to draw. We shall see if I can do it justice. We shall see. Let me open back up the chat window so I can see that nice and big here. And, yeah. Have I read the current run of X-Men? I read the Jonathan Hickman stuff, and it was fine. It wasn't my favorite of his, but there were interesting ideas, but I felt like it was being sort of slowed down intentionally by the editors and the crossovers with other X-Men books. But it was fine. That's the only one that I've been reading, though. I don't read an exceptional amount of Marvel and DC. I pick up some stuff so that I can like be in touch with some of the big names and sort of see where things are going. But yeah, that's about it. Let's not talk about Chris. Oh yeah, no, I'm totally burnt out on the Oscars news. I have nothing else to add at this point. I've seen too many memes in like less than 24 hours. I just don't care anymore about it. So, no more hot takes from me anyway. I'm just burnt out. I'm going to try to give this some motion with some speed lines. And having fun with a brush pen here. One by Kuretake. We'll see how things go. But let's see. One quick question regarding Wolverine patch. Who is the female mutant Patches fighting on the variant cover? I didn't see the variant cover, so I'm not sure. It might be the new character that they introduced, but I don't remember that character's name. Hey, I've got a super chat. Steve Sorensen. Hey, Chris. Sorry I am late. You never have to be sorry for something like that. Thanks for doing these. I love, maybe, this as background noise when I do my grad HW. After this, I'm reading Storyteller by Dave Grohl. Yeah, people ask sometimes, like, who's one of my favorite bands, or some of them, and I'm bad at music, but I will say I've always been a big fan of Foo Fighters, so I was pretty upset about the news that came out this week about their band mate Taylor Hawkins dying so young. That was definitely sad. That was super sad. Whoa, John Dorsey with another super chat. I have a very unique recommendation. Boom's lesser-known imprint is Archaea, and the title Cursed Pirate Girl is wholly created by one Jeremy Bastian. It's utterly unlike anything I've ever seen. John, it's one of the strongest recommends I ever did on this show. This book is insanely good, folks. I totally agree with John's super chat there. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. You have not come across anything this detailed in your life. You might think Barry Windsor Smith is detailed. You might think Jeff Darrow is detailed. You haven't seen detail until you've seen what Jeremy Bastian does with Cursed Pirate Girl. As far as the story, think something like Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, maybe a little bit of, because it's got like sort of pirates and supernatural stuff, maybe a little bit of the better parts of Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Just an incredible book. Exceptional. Strong recommend. Strong recommend. It is gorgeous. Great book. Strongly recommend you look for it. John, appreciate that. Let's see. Anyone else excited for Moon Knight? I'm excited for Moon Knight. I think that it's an interesting character. I think that Oscar Isaac, I tend to really like him as an actor. I think he's good. So, yeah. Very excited for it, to be honest. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high because I don't know what direction they're going. There's so many you could go in with that character. But we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, that's Tuesday night / Wednesday? Like, I generally stay up till midnight for the Marvel and Star Wars shows on Tuesday nights. It's kind of a fun little treat for me. A treat for me. Let's see. I've been putting off reading Dave Grohl's book. It was given in October, and I haven't read it, though I coincidentally was going to read it prior to the death of Hawkins. I totally get it, man. Interesting that Moshe Gold mentions that the thing I was just showing, Cursed Pirate Girl by Jeremy Bastian, reminds Moshe of stuff by J.H. Williams on Promethea and in Sandman Overture. I've only just heard and seen some images of overtures by Williams. Boy, that looks gorgeous. I gotta pick that up because that looks incredible. I really want this to feel like it has some impact to it. So we shall see if I can convey that. But let's see. I was very jealous of Oscar Isaac's beard in Dune. That was a pretty spot-on beard. Can't argue with you there. Let me pick up what we've got for some comic book news. I always have just notes for myself on my phone here about Comic book news of the week. I'm trying to remember. I know that there was a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about. All right. Here's an interesting one that's like, not going to be on all the websites like, comic book resources or anything like that. They tend to like talk mostly about like, who's going to be cast in the She-Hulk show or something like that, But there is a comic book store in Ohio that won an award for best concept. There's a town called Over the Rhine in Ohio, and the comic book store there is called Cosmic Gorillas. They were honored as the most original bar concept by the National Bar and Restaurant Expo. And it is both a comic book store and a bar. And I have to admit, I would love to check out a place like that. That sounds very fun. If I could sit down, have a drink, and read some comics, that would be exceptional. I would love that. A lot of people are saying that, Overture... Oh, okay, changes styles in Overture based on the scene. Okay. Oh, you're talking about Sandman Overture. Yeah. J.H. Williams, that would be an interesting creator to discuss on Comic Tropes, my other show. Here's a better question. Like, people are like, are you excited for, what do you call it? Moon Knight. Is anybody excited for Morbius? Be honest. Is anybody excited for Morbius? I don't know if you ever saw the anime film Afro Samurai, but the manga is getting reprinted. I did not see that. That's in your hometown, the Garrett? That's really cool. So it sounds like if you haven't been there, I'd recommend checking out this place, Cosmic Gorilla. Sounds really cool to me. I think that sounds great. Anyway. I should really not be pushing. I should be pulling my line, I know, but whatever. I'm not a perfect artist, that's for sure. That's for damned sure. I just love that idea, though. Like, I love cool comic book stores, Ugh, that's what happens when I try to push. I messed up. So, because of that mistake, and it's noticeable enough, I got to get some white out. Let's see. I got a second date with a girl who really wants to see it. Oh, Morbius, I really like the girl, so for that night, I will share her enthusiasm. There you go. It is considered distasteful to be excited about a train wreck. Okay, that's a good joke. Morbius always looked like a train wreck the whole time. Almost want to hate watch it, but I'll wait for streaming. I'm going to go see it because, hey, I've got a show. I should talk about it. Who knows? I couldn't care less about Morbius. Yeah, I'm surprised they're doing it, but who knows? Let's try to clean this up a little. Chris and his mistakes. Oops. Alright, that looks a little bit better anyway. Let's see. Moving forward, there's more news than that. You think that I had one piece of news, folks? No. I guarantee that I will always have at least 5 pieces of news. That gives you the value that you need. We talked a little about like some Marvel MCU stuff, but actor Simu Liu played Shang-Chi recently. That was a really good movie. I liked that one. He is going to be attending an upcoming convention in Washington, D.C., the ACE convention, and he's announced that he will not be signing any offensive comics, including the old 70s Master of Kung Fu books. And can't really blame him, to be honest. I do enjoy Paul Gulacy's art. I enjoy Doug Mench's writing for most of the characters in the adventure. The kindest way you could put this is it is of its time. And what does that mean? That means it's kind of offensive. They color the character completely yellow. His father is literally a racist caricature, kind of famously, if you ever want to look up Fu Manchu. It's not great. And a lot of the characters will sling around some pretty offensive terminology for Asians that just would not get used today. So if that offends him and he doesn't want to sign it, I get it. He'll sign modern stuff, he said, but should know that going in, he's not going to sign if you put like an old Master of Kung Fu book in front of him. He does not want to sign that. And I think that that's honestly like totally fair to say. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. You'll have to hold me to that. Hey, I think I usually have like 6 big pieces of news to talk about. But yeah, like I'm going to say I'll always have at least 5 pieces of news. Some of those comics are good. Some of those comics have very good parts. I will agree, Black Phoenix. Are they completely good? No. I could see how it could offend people. Absolutely, I could see that. And so if he doesn't feel comfortable doing that, I don't think he owes anybody anything. You know, does Simu Liu owe us, you know, a signature just because he was in a movie? No. So if he wants to set that rule, I feel like, yeah, that's his prerogative. You know, of course, like, you know, if other people like didn't like how he was doing that, they could react to that. But I don't know. I think it's reasonable enough. I do. But you know, that's just my take. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong. I don't know. I don't see what he would owe us. No, it's not just the name. No, it's the actual comics. His policy on what he'll sign seemed a lot more reasonable than his fees. I can't imagine paying that much for a signature or photo. Yeah, something like a signature is like $150. So he's turning down money. You know, like there's money on the table there, but he's setting some guidelines on what he will and will not sign. But wow, I don't know. I don't think I will ever be in a position where so many people are asking me for my signature that I'm gonna have to charge money. Sorry, my fiance is texting me about something that I'm getting for getting on health insurance. Gonna be able to save some money. I don't have it yet, Chrissy, just so you know. Like, but if I see it, I'll shoot it to you. Morals are priceless. I hope so. I hope so. Elvira will charge, okay, in 2012, charge $90 for a photo and a signed item. Yeah. A lot of these celebrities can make a good amount on signatures. There's probably not too many. I can't think of many comic book artists that, you know, put a like a price on a signature. They may have to impose some limits if they're real popular, like I can only sign 2 items or something just to keep a line moving. But I can't think of any comic creators that charge money for a signature at conventions. I don't think I've ever come across that, to be honest. Let's see. I think it's weird to have a modern actor sign a 40-something-year-old comic they had nothing to do with in creating because they played the character. Yeah, I could see the fun in a way of like having him sign a movie poster. I have to admit, I also wouldn't have somebody other than the creator sign the comic, but it is worth something to some collectors in the sense that, like, if you ever look and you could find, say, a Star Wars comic book signed by Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, that's going to go for a decent chunk of change. It does. People do want that. So, you know, it's a thing. It's a thing. I felt like I sounded dumb when I said that. It's a thing. Doug Bradley took a $20 for a photo and personalized autograph. I'm sure he was grateful to get that $20. Chrissy, I'm shooting you the information right now. Larry Hama was charging $10 for an undedicated autograph. Dedicated autographs were free. Yeah, because he knows that, like, an undedicated one is potentially going to get sold on like eBay or something. So he deserves to get a piece of that, you know? I'm getting all my Captain Americas signed by Reb Brown. Well, no one's going to stop you. Certainly not Reb. Yeah, I heard that the Lexington Comic-Con was just this past week, and I actually heard from a lot of my viewers that they went ahead and saw or got something signed by Larry Hama, which I think is awesome because I'm just a huge fan of his. In terms of like a guest that I would love to interview on this show, currently Larry Hama would be at the very top of my list. I just would really love to understand his creative process and stuff. I find him very interesting. He knows a lot of great creators, and I don't know, I've just always really liked his work. So who knows, maybe someday that'll happen for me. Wish me luck. A friend of mine whose cousin runs a comic shop has X-Men #1, Claremont and Lee, signed by Stan Lee, and demanded to be paid thousands of dollars for it, though didn't understand it was Jim Lee, not Stan. Oh, interesting. I make cosplay props and people buy them to have the actors sign them, which is weird to me, but if it makes them happy, then that's a good thing. That's kind of cool. That's pretty cool. Cosplay props. Wow. Are you sure Steranko will be there? Won't he be climbing Everest solo or wrestling an elephant? That must be a reply to something else. That's funny. Watching him draw this is hurting my actual hamstrings. Oh, I'm doing a pretty extreme kick there. That's for sure. That's for darn sure, but let's see where it goes. Jim Lee is Stan Lee's prodigy son. There you go. Yeah. Super close relationship. How many Nicholas Hammond signed Spider-Man books are out there? I bet more than we think. I would love to see or hear Nicholas Hammond in a future Spider-Man movie, to be honest. Like the next Spider-Verse movie. I would like to hear him. He played the live-action American Spider-Man. Second live-action official version after the Japanese Spider-Man, which was first. But, you know, only one season. It wasn't a wonderful show, but Nicholas Hammond has been in a lot of good things. He was good in, what was the last Tarantino movie? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was really good in that as the film director, coaching Leonardo DiCaprio and what he wanted him to do for the Western TV show. That was Nicholas Hammond, in case you didn't know. But originally Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Right. Here's a piece of news to talk about. Curious about some people's take on this. Obviously, the movie The Batman is out in theaters and is doing quite well. We all know that. But this past week, the studios in DC released a deleted scene from the movie, and I think it made sense to delete this scene. But it featured the Joker. Yeah, they did have the Joker in that movie, and apparently originally in a slightly larger capacity. Played by Barry, I want to say his last name is pronounced Kean. I could be a little wrong on that. Who's a great actor. He's been in all sorts of stuff that I like Killing of a Sacred Deer. Most of you probably saw him in The Eternals, of course. He's been in all sorts of... He was in The Green Knight recently. That was cool. But he played the Joker. And they released a scene that features him. Here's why I think it's a good idea, first of all, that they didn't include it. Oh, hold on. Super chat from Andrew Jefferson. Did you practice this post to get it right before you drew this? I didn't practice it, but I did draw it and light box it and stuff. In fact, I'm going to zoom out now that I'm sort of working a little bit all the way top to bottom, so that you can see everything. You can see it in all of its, well, not glory, but you can see it all. Right about there, I would say. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, did I practice this pose? No, maybe when I was younger. I think it was good that they didn't include the scene, because if you did, I think, it would be like introducing Chekhov's gun, that filmmaking term, as in, people would all be expecting to see the Joker show back up, in the third act or something. You would just possibly expect it if you introduced him earlier. You'd be like, oh, when's the Joker coming back? What's he going to do to cause chaos to this scene? He practiced in the mirror. Thank you. But would it make sense to have him earlier in the movie? Just in terms of a structural point of view, no. I think it made sense not to include him there. But nevertheless, he was included in a scene, so, if people saw it, it's towards the end. So if you saw this movie, thoughts? You don't see his look super close. I'll just say that. And I'm not going to spoil anything because it's not super important to the plot. His look, to me, reminded me a lot of the sort of scarred Joker that we saw in Scott Snyder's, actually, Death of the Family. But, what did you guys think? Do you like that look, or what the actor's take on it was? Felt a little bit like Heath Ledger's Joker, but then again, that performance is so iconic that I think it's going to influence stuff for a long time to come, and I'm okay with that. It's not that I'm saying it's the same. Chekhov's acid squirting lapel pin. There you go. Was that an Omega move? Yeah. Exactly. People grab me from behind, I would just scorpion kick them. No. I would probably, try to wiggle back and forth or pull my arm up and, bring it down to break the hold, or, try to grab at the thumb, real quick, go for wrist control if somebody was choking me from behind. But you gotta do that all fast, because no matter what, you get choked out, people pass out fast. So, yeah. You gotta figure that one out very, very quickly, how you're gonna handle that. That was stuff that we would practice when I was training in Krav Maga, though. People would grab you from behind and you'd have to attempt to break it and stuff. It was interesting, because of course that's a real thing that can happen to you in a fight, getting grabbed like that. Let's see. I only watched a bit of it, but it was very hard to understand what the dude was saying. I mean, this Joker... Yeah, I agree with you there, Steve. I think Jared Leto's Joker was my least favorite interpretation of Joker, bar none. I did not care for that. There's a YouTube channel that does animation. I'm forgetting exactly what it's called, but I want to say Film Cow. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. And he did a really funny animation of that version of the Joker, where he's Yes, I want to get a tattoo on my forehead that says damaged, because I want people to know that I'm all messed up. It was a pretty good voice. I liked it. Glad it was cut. I don't see it doing much for the flow of the movie, and it gives away the ending. I don't know if it necessarily gave away the ending. I sort of see what you mean, but I definitely think it would have impacted the flow of the movie no matter what. Yeah, I think it was the right call to cut that scene, even though people like the Joker. I think that, like, Barry Keoghan's a great actor. I really do. It inspired choice. I would not have thought of him as the Joker, but I could see it working if they ever decide to go that route. But ultimately, I don't think it would have added to the movie having the Joker in a movie where he is not the main character. The Joker is going to overwhelm whatever else you're doing. I mean, he's just too big of a character. I just don't know what you could do other than, like, make it a Joker movie. He's too big to be a supporting character. WB overuses the Joker. Well, I would say that was a good Bane impression. No, that was my... If you want a Bane voice, I can give you a Bane voice. I was born with this voice. Do you think there would be a comic book featuring Omega someday? I would guarantee that there won't be. I might make my own someday, but featuring me? No. I don't think anybody wants that. Mian with a super chat saying, Keoghan reminds me of Hannibal Lecter, but I figure it felt very awkward to have a Clarice scene in a Batman film. Glad it got cut. I'm not against the idea of Batman, sort of having that Hannibal Lecter-esque scene of, like, talking to an expert, a criminal to get their insight. Right? I think that part in and of itself is cool, but that the Joker is just too big. It overwhelms everything too fast because of how big he is. Any tattoos? If so, what comic ones would you get? I don't have any tattoos, but I will tell you, like, I've given that some thought, like, many times over the years. I like tattoos. I very much respect a well-done tattoo. And if I got one, I'm a big fan of Mike Mignola's art. And in this one Hellboy hardcover book of his art, there was like a sun and a moon, or like a moon and a star. I would really love to put those, like, on the back of my elbows. I would. That would be, like, where I'd probably start. I would consider getting my wife's initials tattooed on, like, my ring finger. I would do something like that. Other comic book related ones. Not necessarily like a panel or anything like that. The reason I like the idea of that Mignola one is because it would be it's very design heavy as compared to just like an illustration. And I think designs tend to look better than, like, interpreting an existing drawing. This is going to take me a while to ink this properly. I'm going to do lots and lots of individual, like, fur/hairlines here to try to give this some motion and depth. There needs to be depth here, and that can really only come with a lot of line work, or I don't know how to do it any simpler than that. Probably more experienced artists would tell me what I'm doing wrong, but I need to add to the depth there. We've got other news. You think that was it for news? Folks, that was 3 pieces, and if you remember, I did obligate myself to give you 5. So, coming up next, counting them down, number 4. Here's an interesting one. You guys were making some jokes about me as Omega, my superhero days, but there was, in this past week, a comic book creator, a professional writer, who stepped up and basically was a real-life superhero. This happened in New York City. Writer David Gallagher, he's written a lot of, like, video game things, but he has written comics of, like, Spider-Man, Hulk, Green Lantern. He's written a bunch of, like, comics. He saw a teenage girl, like something like 13 or something, being hassled and attacked by a group of guys on the street. And he did the right thing. He stepped in and, defended her. And they turned their attention on him and, punched him and threw a trash can and some heavy rocks at him, and he got hurt. He got a broken cheekbone. He got damage to a kidney from, getting hit with, the rock. It was hit, right in the kidney. Ouch. But the girl was able to, get away without being hurt too bad. And so that's the important thing. And so, yeah, David Gallagher, look that up. It's in a lot of news articles. They caught at least one of the guys that was, doing this stuff, attacking the girl. And so, pretty exciting. You always think, I'd do the right thing in that moment. But I have been, myself, in several situations. And it's never a super easy decision in the moment because you don't know everything that's going on. But it's a lot easier to make that call when it's a young girl and a bunch of guys. There's clearly a victim there that's not able to properly defend herself in that specific instance. And so this guy stepped up and was a little bit of a real life superhero. And his payment was a little bit of pain, but he knows that he did the right thing when push came to shove. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's very cool. That's a real hero. Yeah. As an experienced artist, I can say, just do you, dude. You're doing fine. Thank you, Mr. Ben there. That's really nice of you to say. Don't bother with a tattoo, Chris. I found, as of many people I've put it to, that like a piercing or a wild haircut, you forget you even have to have it after seeing it every day for a few months. Well, maybe. Here's my sister's news of the week. She wants to share this. She says, news of the week, my hair smells great. Sounds like you may have taken what we call in the biz a shower. That's what it sounds like, sister. That's what it sounds like. I don't know. There's no way for me to confirm any of that. But it sounds like that. I'm having fun inking and talking to all of you. Thank you so much for being here this week. I'm curious. I started off doing my reviews of the week. And my strongest recommendations were things like Saga and then probably We Have Demons. Those were probably my two strongest recommends of the week. What would you recommend other people check out? Obviously, we got the super chat from John of recommending one that I also recommend, Cursed Pirate Girl. That one's fantastic. But what do people? What do you all say? If you had to, don't force it. But if you've got one that you recommend, let's share that stuff. Let's share it. That's a real hero, putting yourself in danger when another is in peril. Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's kind of beautiful. That's the stuff that gives me faith in humanity when I hear stories like that. When somebody just does the right thing. That's what I want to see. And now I get quiet as I wait for those responses to come in. I think the sisters segment should be a regular feature on the stream. Well, my sister is here most of the time, so she may be willing to give you a little update. Sister segment. Thank you for sharing, Jean. Looks like your information went over very well. How many people out there have a sibling that they're close to? My sister lives on the other end of the country, so, talking on the phone and engaging online and stuff like this is how we sort of stay up to date with one another, more or less. Who else is close to their sibling? I've got a great sister. There's not a Human Target trade paperback out yet, but I'm sure it will be out pretty soon. Okay, we're seeing some recommendations. Human Target, Stray Dogs, Little Monsters. Don't know Little Monsters. She-Hulk, World's Finest wasn't bad. Another, World's Finest. Yep. Nick Dragotta's new image book, Ghost Cage. Okay, hadn't heard about that one either. Kaiju Max. Yep, Kaiju Max is very cool. Xander Cannon, right? Yep, that's very cool. I'm here every week. Yes, you are. I'm all here for the sister hair care routine segment. Yes. Slumber number 1 was pretty serious. What is my favorite comic strip? Calvin and Hobbes. Absolutely, Calvin and Hobbes. My siblings' hair all smells awful. Oh. I recommend Sam and Max. Always. Yeah, Sam and Max is pretty cool. Yeah, I agree. My brother is the finest person I've ever known. Aw, John, that's amazing to hear. Human Target trade comes out in a few months. 6th issue just came out. Right. And then they're taking a small hiatus, so I think that they're timing it out. We can all get on the trade paperback if you like it. Pretty easy shortly after that to jump in with number 7. I'm close to my brother Chris, but not this Chris. We've got a stepbrother named Chris, so Jean is saying that she's close to the other Chris, not me. Damn. Recommendation: Rouges. Kaiju number 8. Okay, these are interesting recommendations. Ghost Cage is cool. Until My Knuckles Bleed. That's a cool title. I don't know that one. I Hate Fairyland and A History of Violence. Yeah, History of Violence is really cool. I'm going to Philly Comic-Con this coming month, and I hope to meet Ron Perlman. Yeah, Skullman, get it. Jean thinks she's being very funny. Maybe she is. I don't know. All I know is I'm going to be crying tonight. I thought I got to be the favorite brother. Brutal. Just brutal. I've got a song stuck in my head. It's not a bad song, but it's not a good song. It's an 80s song by the Motels. Who even remembers the Motels? But Only the Lonely is stuck in my head. I don't even know where I would have heard it right now. I know I didn't pull it up to listen to, but it's in my head. I'm not close to you because you're on the West Coast. Jokes! My sister will be here all hour. I'm really enjoying The Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. A great detective story with a lot of fun characters. I really am missing out on that one. The Rush by Simon Spurrier is good. Cool. Until My Knuckles Bleed is a subversive take on an over-the-hill superhero from the 90s. Oh, cool. Cool idea. Yep. Have you checked out the horror anthology Silver Coin? I haven't. I've seen it on the shelves. Is it good? Are you giving it your endorsement? It's like I told you, only the lonely can play. That's the song I've got stuck in my head. And it's not one I want to have stuck in my head, but it is, so I don't get a choice in this one. You're my favorite of Jean's brothers. Thanks, wife. I'm glad I'm still the favorite. Only the Lonely, great song. It's a good song. Now it's stuck in mine. It's like I told you, only the lonely can play. Like Ice Cream Man. Oh, each issue of Silver Coin is standalone. Ice Cream Man is good. Haven't read that in a little bit. Haven't read that one in a little bit. I should go back to it. I like that. I like horror books. I do. Horror in comics is a tricky road, no question, because you can't do a lot to shock someone. You certainly can't shock someone the same way you can with a movie. That's a lot more visceral. You've got sound, of course, working for you there, which carries a huge weight in a horror movie, but also just like physically, like, you know, something stepping out from the shadows or the background or something like that. That's always going to be a bit of a surprise, like taking that information in that fast. Whereas the most we can sort of do for a surprise in a comic is flip the page and like the next panel, like, oh, I didn't expect that. But like, you know, in a movie, oh, and in a comic, you're like, ooh. Huh. You know, it's a different reaction. In college, my coworker and I used to get Sister Christian stuck in each other's head. It was old even then. The best I've read lately is the manga of Battle Angel Alita. Okay. Ooh. What else should I do here? I think I should add some more hair. I think I should add an eye. It's like I told you, only the lonely can play. You guys didn't know you'd be getting such a treat today, did you? My sister hates it when I sing, by the way. She says that I just can't carry a tune. She's kind of right. She always complains when I sing. So, if you thought she was perfect, you know, I don't know. Not necessarily perfect. She doesn't like my singing. Ouch. I embrace the 80s. I even look for obscure new wave bands. I love 80s new wave. I do. I love 80s new wave. Maybe it's mostly nostalgia. I don't know. But I will say that, like, there's just something about a lot of their arrangements that makes me feel emotional. And I want to feel something out of the songs that I listen to. So, yeah, there's just something about a lot of... Not every new wave song. Don't get me wrong. No, just like, yeah, good enough. It's all good. But, no, you don't? You don't mind if I sing? All right. I feel like you've complained a lot about it in the past. But that's fair. Some of it is the instrumentation that they use, of course, new wave stuff. But some of it is just a vibe. I also really like synthwave, which is like, you know, like modern stuff that's sort of like designed to sound a bit like 80s stuff. I kind of like that vibe. Yeah, there can be some really cool synthwave stuff. Someday I should like make another opening for my show that's like real heavy synthwave score. I think that would be fun. I mean, a lot of what I do is based on nostalgia, so could work theoretically. Theoretically. New Order was often a vibe. Yeah, caught a vibe. Everybody's talking about a vibe. All right, folks, I gave you 4 pieces of news. You get one more. You get one more. Okay, this one's a little different. Going to talk about sort of some manga/anime stuff. Jujutsu Kaisen is apparently, I haven't read this one, but apparently a very popular manga these days. Not the most popular, but very popular. It recently had a movie, an animated movie, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, that hit theaters, and it's doing very well. It's already made over $145 million worldwide. Very good for any animated movie, certainly for one, like, you know, coming from, say, Japan instead of, you know, America. Obviously, America has bigger distribution a lot of the time. But I'll pause real quick to say thank you, Steve Sorensen, for the super chat. May I suggest the band The Midnight? Yes. I'm wondering if I've heard of them. But I will definitely look them up. The Midnight. Thank you. Anyway, Jujutsu Kaisen 0 coming out, smashing all sorts of box office records, right? Production team behind it, like the studio, is very proud of that. They put out a news article listing a bunch of the countries that it's been number one in the week that it was released, including Taiwan. Probably some of you know where this is going. China does not consider Taiwan to be an independent nation. They consider it to be theirs. It's not what Taiwan thinks, but that's what China thinks. And China is a massive country with a lot of buying potential. And if you piss them off, you often have to apologize, as John Cena did in a fairly embarrassing video. But it's the only way to get those valuable Chinese dollars. So they had to apologize, the production company behind Jujutsu Kaisen, and say, like, we didn't mean that it was number one in Taiwan, the independent country. We're just waiting to see how it does in China. Ugh, so awful. A lot of people saying the Midnight's awesome. Andrew Jefferson says, saw the Jujutsu Kaisen movie on Saturday, knew nothing about it. It was pretty good. I've heard it's good. I might check it out. I love synthwave to listen to when I'm working. Yeah, me too. A lot of people like Midnight. All right, so thank you for the recommendation there. Apparently, that's what I got to listen to. Fine with that. That's awesome. I love recommendations. That's why I ask people what they're reading for comics. You know, if I see some of the ones that you've mentioned in this chat room at like one of the comic stores that I go to, that means I'll probably pick it up, because I feel like that's something I can justify when I do a show about comics. I feel like that's something I should do. So this guy's called Cobra Sun. This is Steel Rose, and yeah, we're motoring along here, like giving this some depth, giving this some motion, hopefully. I like how this is going personally, and that's important, because if I'm invested, the art is going to come out good. That's an important part, to stay excited. Hold on. Another super chat from John. Humbly, I propose that if I pay, perhaps our host will sing a few bars of Sister Christian, Tropes Nation, what say you? Yeah, it would literally have to only be a few bars, because if I sing, you know, of course I'm going to do it like perfectly. I'm going to nail it, and then YouTube would be like, hey, that's protected. Let me see if I'm gonna pull up the lyrics so that I can do it properly for you, John. But just a little. By Night Ranger, right? Yeah, Sister Christian by Night Ranger. All right. You have to put this sort of pained expression on your face if you're going to sing this song. Sister Christian, oh, the time has come, and you know that you're the only one to say, okay. These are two wrestlers, Black Phoenix, from an upcoming comic book by Daniel Warren Johnson, The Evil Cobra Sun. I don't know how evil he is, the book isn't out yet. And Steel Rose, the greatest wrestler of all time. I'm just trying to do my best here to give it some energy. If I could, I'd pay Chris to sing some Dawkins. I don't really know Dawkins that well. I'm aware of who Dawkins is, but I don't think I know them that well. I watched Godzilla vs. Hedorah today for the first time. Interesting film with an anti-pollution message. Hedorah was sort of an interesting monster. Sort of interesting, yeah. It was a great job. Aw. What's your price for flight? Yeah. What's your price for flight? And finding Mr. Right. Be alright tonight. You know what this makes me miss, folks? How many of you out there enjoyed Guitar Hero and or Rock Band and would even pick up the microphone sometimes? That was fun. I mean, I mostly loved the guitar, to be honest, but sometimes it was fun to pick up the microphone. I was never very good at the drums. Could only really do them on easy. Because you know what? The drumming wasn't really so much a simulation as like you were literally drumming. Because it's all about keeping the beat and hitting the right one. You have my undying support for being such a good sport. Thank you. Thank you. I actually just bought a Cannibal Corpse CD recently talking about music. I don't know them. I miss Guitar Hero so much. Me. Thank you guys. Yeah, God. I wish they still made those games. I mean, I know you could still get like the hardware and like a lot of the songs are downloadable, but it's not the same. I want like new ones. I want like a whole new game mode. I miss those games so much. I would... Those are some of my favorite games because you could have a blast by yourself, but boy was that fun if you ever had like, you know, a guest or something. My wife Chrissy is really good at like, she could always play the guitar on expert. I was more of like usually like a medium, but she was an expert. Never got into Guitar Hero, played DJ Hero instead. Never played DJ Hero personally. I never played that one. A couple people saying they love that. I could not get past Tom Morello in Guitar Hero 3. Some Andrew Jefferson into Dance Dance Revolution. Love Guitar Hero. Used to do karaoke all the time. So much fun. So much fun, right? Let's see. I could only play Guitar Hero with a normal controller. The guitar is spaced out too much. Okay. Rocksmith is pretty great if you want to play a real guitar. Okay. I used to sing Bohemian Rhapsody when I was a kid. That's a good one. The market was oversaturated, killed the genre. It was. It quickly, they were definitely making too many too fast. But I miss it now. I miss it a lot. And I was one of the guys that was getting almost every release. So, yeah. I'm not much of a death metal fan necessarily. I'm not against any of it. My buddy John is super into it. And so, like, we go to a lot of movies together, and John usually has some interesting metal on in the car to introduce me to. But, yeah, I can't claim to be much of an expert on death metal or much metal in general. It's a weakness in my knowledge. The Van Halen Guitar Hero is a silly hard-on expert. It's a great game. Death metal doesn't seem like Chris's speed, but I am with you, extreme metal fan. There's Chrissy saying like that she misses it. Hello, Mandela Butterfly. Nice to see you here. Joe Dent saying, I read that one. Yep. Yeah, just missed those games. They were just fun. I would love to see a new one. Hopefully, like, you know, the owners of the intellectual property will at some point give it another go. I think that there's a pretty big marketplace there to be, personally. I'm confident that there is. I understand taking a breather, because it was a lot, but come on. It's been a while. What's that from? That's a song. I can't remember. It's been a while. What else do I want to talk about? You liked Rock Band too, right? I loved Rock Band. I think I liked Rock Band a little bit more than Guitar Hero personally. But I enjoyed both. I did. They were good. How fun was it to play, for people that do remember this, like to play Through the Fire and the Flames and just try to do that on like the hardest setting you could, which might have, for me was only medium. It's Been a While by Stained. Is that who? Yeah. I have the keytar accessory for my Rock Band 3. Oh, wow. I didn't know they made that, Joe. I don't remember that. They made a keytar, huh? Microsoft is the new owner of Guitar Hero. All right. Well, if it's a new owner, then maybe there's a chance that they'll bring it back, right? People are making their own Guitar Hero games like Clone Hero and buying up all the old controllers. They used to be worthless. Well, there were a lot, but I think if you look now, like, you know, a store doesn't carry them. So to get one in really good condition is worth a little something now. Do I have one still? Oh, you know what? Look at that. I do still have one. That means I could be playing this. Hold on. I'm going to grab it real quick. I didn't know that I just looked. All of a sudden I was like, do I still have this? And I do. Chrissy, look. There we go. Now, look at that. I do still have one. I do still have one. For the PlayStation. Okay. Look, there is no way to look cool holding this thing. There isn't. It's a fun toy. It is a fun toy. But you only need to watch a Chris Chan video to understand that, like, that isn't cool. Yeah, I know. Maybe I should do a stream at some point, huh? I am on Twitch. Maybe I'll start a stream at some point. I haven't played a lot of video games in the last 2 years, to be honest. Which one is this? Okay, it's I guess it's wireless then. I haven't looked at this thing in forever, folks. This is exciting to me to realize that I do still have this. Is it covered in cat barf? No, it's great. It's got some dust on it is all, but it's in good shape. Yep. Yeah, all the buttons feel very responsive. This is in very good shape. Chrissy, we could play this later. That's so cool. Chrissy and I were talking about this like a couple weeks ago. You have the dongle? I don't have a dongle. I think that this is just wireless. It connects. Yeah. Here's my impression of me playing Through the Fire and the Flames. That's my impression. You're welcome. Be careful streaming it. You may get demonetized due to the music. Oh. Didn't think of that. We don't have too much left to ink on this guy, really. I like how this came out. Thus far. I guess it could always fall apart. Thus far. Let me, I want to do a little bit more on sort of like this fur and stuff like that. I'm going to take a moment to use my trusty kneaded eraser. Yeah, a Chris Chan reference, I know. Chris Chan is just depressing these days, isn't it? Ugh. Not that it was ever exactly like fun and games. But wow. That is not fun. So you can't stream Rock Band and stuff? They wouldn't allow you to stream that? That's interesting. But I could understand why you might not be able to stream that. Like, yeah. Maybe they wouldn't allow that. Alright, this is starting to look a little cleaner. I'm going to probably touch up a few little areas as soon as I get some of this pencil work picked up. And run that pencil work right out of town. That's my perfect southern accent. It's a southern accent that I picked up in my New Orleans days. I did live in New Orleans for a while. Now I have to go to my basement and search for my DJ Hero and Donkey Konga controllers. Never had Donkey Konga, but that looks fun. For me, it's hard to draw and talk and discuss. Drawing and listening to your podcast or live tube channel like your channel, I am okay. Okay. Yeah, I know. I sang Night Ranger perfectly, right? They didn't shut me down for that. But I'd have to look up like what I'm gonna just Google it later, like what Twitch's rules would be for if you wanted to stream Guitar Hero or something like that. I should have access to all my stuff that I'd purchased before. I'd probably have to re-download some of it, but who cares? This is fun. I almost forgot a little bit of a line here. We're having fun, right, folks? We're having fun. I have my DJ Hero controller. How's your cat, Chris? I have a gremlin sleeping in my lap now. Oh, my cat's good. Little Bean, where are you? He's not down here, I don't think. He must be up with Chrissy. Look, he's a great cat, but he was Chrissy's cat before we met. Now, when we met, he was less than a year old. He was still a kitten. He wasn't fully grown. So he's known me basically his whole life, but he's so loyal to her. He is so loyal. So, whenever possible, he's basically with her. And I can't get mad at that because I love her too. She's great. So I'm like, yep, you got good taste there, bud. But, yeah. Sometimes I will say, like, you know, I wish I had a pet that sort of like loved me the way that Little Bean loves Chrissy. Because I have had, you know, my own cats and stuff, and these days I don't, and he is my cat, but he doesn't quite, you know, he's not as affectionate with me as he is with her, and that's okay. But I miss having a buddy that's like just really loyal to me and stuff. So sometimes I want to get, like, you know, a dog or something. I've never had my own dog before. I've had family dogs, but never my own. I think I'm ready to have one. No kids or anything, so I can take care of a dog. He's with me. Ah, yes. Okay, so he's upstairs with Chrissy. I'm not surprised. Good. Hopefully he's happy. Makes me happy to make an animal happy. Isn't that weird? Like, why... Things like cats and dogs and a few other things, isn't it interesting how it makes us happy to be with them, how they can be calming, at least most of the time? I know no animal is perfect all the time, but it is interesting that like certain creatures humans like to be around, and those like creatures have found, you know, safety and you know, comfort being around people. Like, you know, they like, that's an interesting evolutionary adaptation. I find that interesting that like cats and dogs just generally like being with people, that they trust us in that way. I don't know. I don't quite know exactly what I'm saying here, to be honest. It's just something that fascinates me about the bond between animals and humans. But not every animal, right? Like, you know, you can't just generally grab a raccoon and turn it into a pet easily. Like, sometimes people have, but like, it's not the kind of thing that generally happens. It's interesting that certain animals and us have formed these bonds, these social bonds. I don't know. I like that. I like it a lot. Makes me happy. I like animals. My first pet was a lizard. That is weird. The gremlin is technically a dog, but she's less than 4 pounds. Oh, that is a little dog. I think he's on his way to visit you now. Oh, really? Hey, Little Bean. If I do a certain kiss sound, he comes to me. So it sounds silly, but if I do that, he knows that I'm trying to get his attention, and he usually responds and comes up to like right up to me. If I do that sound, he kind of knows. We have unique ways of communicating with our pets, don't we, folks? I hope this looks like there's been some impact here. I don't know. Domestication has taken thousands of years. Yeah, it's still interesting that it's happened. There'll be a better version of this. I'll take a picture tonight and like put it on Twitter and Instagram. Comic tropes on each of those things. I'll upload that. I'll upload that. I ate a guinea pig. I have no idea why. What was your first pet that you can remember having? Even if it was a family pet. What was the first pet you remember having? And were you close with it? First pet I remember was our dog Ginger, which my parents had before I was born. And I liked Ginger, but I was a little wary of her. I wish I'd treated her better and bonded more with her now, because I like dogs so much now. But as a little kid, I have to admit, I was a little nervous about her. A monkey would be a cool pet if it didn't rip your face off. Exactly, at a certain point, they just turn on you, right? I had some customers yesterday that brought in their dog. It was called a German Spitz. And what it looked like was just like a Pomeranian at like maybe 2 to 3 times its normal size. But it looked like a Pomeranian. It was gray. Oh, it was gorgeous. Its fur was so soft. It was so well behaved. Anyway, I loved Ginger. Yeah, you were much better with Ginger than I was. I know that. You bonded better. I had a Walmart fish named Sharky. Aw, that's a good name for a little fish. Must have been a cat. We always have cats. I have a bunch of koi fish these days. That's been fun to, learn about and take care of. I mean, a little bit of work too, to be honest, because like we have to have like the pond professionally cleaned at a certain point. But they have babies. They keep having babies and stuff. So like right now we have like about technically like at least 20 fish in there, but some of them are really, really little. So I don't know exactly how many I have right now. I have like 10 that are big enough that I know them and I've got them named, like 10 of them, but then there's like a bunch of young ones. I probably know more, like 12 of them. I had a pet fish. I named him after the harpooner in Moby Dick. Lived a long time for a fish. Stetson was a golden retriever. We were raising for Guiding Eyes for the Blind. He failed the tests and went on to be a regular dog with another family. Well, that's cute. That's cute. First pet I remember was 3 cockatiels. Birds can live a long time, can't they? I always wanted a flying squirrel. They look cute and interesting, but I wonder how hard they are to take care of. A Pomeranian is a Spitz type, as well as the American Eskimo dog. I know. My sister thinks I don't know anything about dogs, because she knows everything about dogs. But because she knows everything, I know a few things. I know that much, Gene. My first pet was a silverback. Yeah, first pet was a gorilla. You beat the crap out of me. If I didn't feed it on time, that gorilla just tore me a new one. That would be a tough pet, a silverback gorilla. It's dinner time. Please. Please don't hurt me. I have a disease. Don't hit me. The idea of having a silverback gorilla as a pet really amuses me, Tari. That just really, that really cracks me up. The gorilla's tearing the house to pieces. Would somebody please, for the love of God, cook a steak? Same with you in comic books. Exactly, yeah. Like, I know a lot about comics, so you've picked up a few things, right? It's where we connect. I find it fascinating that cats domesticated themselves. Yeah, right. The history of cats is very different from dogs. They're very much the same species in the wild. Instead of dogs that used to be wolves and changed to dogs by their coexisting with us. I love dogs, but I will say there are some breeds that I'm like, man, humanity did you no favors. Some of them have some pretty tough lives with like their breathing and stuff like that. Like, it's like, why did we do this to you? Why did we do this? Glad I could make you laugh. You did. Hopefully I in turn made some of you guys laugh. Stetson as a dog name is absolutely fantastic. That is really strong name. Stetson is really nice. Gorillas are supposed to be very peaceful and gentle. Wouldn't make a great pet though. Exactly. When it's dinner time, they could just like pick you up and like, just like thrash you around if they felt like it. Feed me. Oh wait, no. You know what? Now that I think of it, gorillas don't speak English. I guess I finished the artwork little earlier than usual, but I think I finished for like where I'm comfortable being for this particular one. I don't think that I really have anything that I would add to this. But I'm happy with how this came out personally. I am. I feel like it worked. I'll just, you know what I'll do? This is silly, but like I'm just going to add a little to certain edges to sort of make it pop a little bit more from the background. Anybody got any trips planned? I love talking about that kind of stuff. The one I'm trying to convince Chrissy to do at this point is I think I'd like to go to France. I think I'd like to go to France as soon as she's up for it. I don't know. I think I'd have a good time. Maybe we'd even like, you know, combine that with like at least a day or two in either Germany or the UK, just because it's not too hard to go from one country to the other. This is just me spitballing. I don't have a specific plan or anything like that. Magilla Gorilla couldn't find somebody to buy him, though. Aw. True story, I had a chameleon once. It was fun watching the color change and watching it eat grasshoppers. I bet it was. I love dogs that my family has, but I don't think I could live with one. I have a 2-year-old that I can handle better than most dogs at length. Cats are the bee's knees. Yeah, I love cats. I love cats. Might be going to Utah again this summer. Okay, could be a good trip. Love you and your content. Just wanted to thank you for making my day better whenever you post. That's nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, latest video, by the way, is up, and that was, I discussed kind of a silly book that didn't take off. It's called Team America. It was based on a toy, like a motorcycle toy, and it didn't do that well. And some of that is probably because they kept changing the creative teams. So I talk about the entire history of Team America in my latest video. And it's doing okay, but not great. So I'll be honest. If you haven't seen it yet, I would love to hear your response in the comments. If you have watched it, and you can think of any friend or family member that you think might be interested in watching it, I would definitely appreciate it if you were up to share that. Amsterdam could be very cool. You're saying the stream is ending soon? Probably the stream is ending soon, yes. Not right this second, but soon, yes. Soon, yes. It will end. It will not continue for the whole evening. I need to eat. Folks, are you trying to say that you won't let me eat? That's so mean. Why wouldn't you let me eat food? It's my favorite thing to eat. When it comes to food, that's my favorite thing to eat. If the pandemic cooperates, I'm going to bike through Patagonia. Ooh, brother and sister-in-law are planning to go to Orlando, and I hope to go with them. That could be fun. Hoping to go to Washington, Oregon with my girlfriend in May. All right. Still figuring out what we're going to do while we're there, but really looking forward to it. Well, it's beautiful, especially if you want to do anything outdoors. Can offer it here. France sounds cool. My coworker just got back from France. Omelette du fromage. How's my pronunciation? Probably crap. Of course, my brother actually put me on your content. Good. Team America seems like a book that would have done better in the 70s. It was about 10 years too late. Started in 82. Would have done better in 72. What is this thing you call eating? It's gross. You don't want to hear about it. Speaking of Europe, have you ever thought of doing a video on hairs? Absolutely I have. There are some creators that I definitely want to do, and I get intimidated because I want to do them well. Like, there's some people that are just really big, and I end up putting them off. And some of them I have done on this channel, but they'll be intimidating. You know, like, I want to do a good job. Yeah. Going to stay in a cabin in Boone, North Carolina. It's no France, though. No, it's beautiful. That sounds lovely. It's a good time of year, I would say, right about now, to do something like that. I think that will... Yeah, I think that the art is... I did it. I'm done. We're done. We'll do it live! I'm going to call the stream. It's been about 2 hours. I had a blast talking about the news of the week and the comics that I read. I appreciate the recommendations. I'll keep my eyes open when I'm scanning the shelves at any of the comic book stores. If I see the kind of things that people were like ecstatic about, that's the kind of stuff I'd pick up. So we shall see. But I'm going to call it now, folks. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. It really does. I appreciate it. This is my social outlet for the week, but it's my opportunity to sort of connect with an audience and understand what's important to people in the world of comics. So I love talking about that stuff with you guys. I had a great time tonight. It was a good... I almost got that word out. It was a good stream. I'm trying right now to decide between two topics, and I'm gonna have to decide tonight, like, which way I'm going. I could do something that's possibly related to Morbius, but I also really, really, really want to talk about All-Star Superman, which is just one of my favorite comics ever. So I'll probably end up, like, at some point doing both of those, and I've got a lot of other ideas too, but, like, I'm trying to decide right now which way I want to go. We shall see. Thank you all for the kind words. Monday evenings are inked in. Thank you. That's really kind of you. Chris Sears, thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated these days. We had a pretty big bill plumbing-wise today, so thank you. That helps. I didn't get the notification, or I am going gaga. When are you drawing Future Quest? I'll have to look up Future Quest Mandela Butterfly. I don't know that one off the top of my head. But thank you for all the kind words. Means a lot to me. I'm going to take off, and until next time, keep reading comics. And now, I'm just going to sit here awkwardly so that I make sure I don't cut the stream off too soon. Thank you.